Welcome aboard, fellow enthusiasts, as we embark on another incredible video. Thank you for joining us today as we dive into Red Box Band. Red Box is a British pop group founded by Simon Toulson-Clarke and Julian. Active from the early years to the present day, they scored 2 UK top 10 hits with the singles Lean on Me, Ah-Li-Ayo in 1985 and For America in 1986, both of which were included on their debut album, The Circle and the Square. Red Box returned briefly in 1990 with the single Train and the second album Motive, and again in 2010 with the third album Plenty, released in October 2010. The group is now led by singer-songwriter Simon Toulson-Clarke with a third line-up of supporting players. In February 2019, the band released This Is What We Came For, the first single from their fourth studio album Chase the Setting Sun, which was released in September 2019. In July 2019, they released a second single Gods and Kings, also from Chase the Setting Sunday. Now, let's shift our focus to early years and formation and embark on an intellectual exploration of its various dimensions. Early years and formation. Simon Toulson-Clarke formed his first band, aged 13, at Harrow School with his friend Paddy Talbot. Another member of the band was cricketer and insurance executive Matthew Foch, who recognized that two of the guys were talented and two of us were rubbish. I was one of the rubbish ones, playing covers of Led Zeppelin and Deep Purple as well as some self-penned material. Other early influences are cited as being Mark Bolan, David Bowie, Cream, Pink Floyd, Cat Stevens and particularly Buffy Sainte-Marie. On leaving school, he moved to Middlesbrough and formed another band in the vein of New York Dolls. In the late years, he travelled south to study at the Polytechnic of Central London where he formed a band with Bristolian Julian. Initially the band performed under the name Harlequins and comprised Toulson-Clarke vocal suite and Close saxophone together with Paddy Talbot keyboards, Rob Legg bass and Martin Nixon drums. The band later took the name Red Box, after some deliberation, from a box left behind by the rock group Slade following a performance at college and in which they had since been storing microphones. The name was favoured for its political red connotations. Toulson-Clarke describes the band members as student activists. He was also attracted to the notion of square box being an old North American Indian term for white man's circle being the term for man before Europeans were encountered, a concept which would be explored further on the debut The Circle and the Square album in the song Heart of the Sun, a line from which gave the album its title. Whilst still students, the band regularly sold out shows at the Marquee and Moonlight Club and released their debut single Chinko on the Cherry Red label in 1983. The record was a hit on radio and brought them to the attention of Seymour Stein, who signed the band to Sire in 1984. Soon after this, the band slimmed down to a duo, took on a more synth-pop direction and re-signed direct to WEA, who released their second single Saskatchewan, a cover of the Buffy Sainte-Marie song, under the Sire imprint. Moving on to the next segment, we have The Circle and the Square. The Circle and the Square. In August 1985, the duo had their first UK hit single, Lean on Me, Ah-Li-Ayo, a song which reached and stayed at number 3 in the UK Top 40 for over a month. It also reached number 1 in 5 countries and the top 5 in a further 12, giving worldwide exposure to the band. It was promoted with an unusual video nominated for Best Video at the Brit Awards 1985, in which a British Sign Language BSL interpreter provided a translation of the song's lyrics, which led to a feature on its Newsweek programme. In 1986, the band released their debut album The Circle and the Square, mixing traditional musical styles, brass ensembles, choral music and chants with modern rock and synth-pop. Among the vocalists drafted in to create the multi-tracked backing vocals or box Fox is English actor Anthony Head. The album received praise for its evocative lyrics and global political intelligence, and is notable for introducing ethnic rhythms and elements of world music into the pop milieu alongside established artists such as Paul Simon Graceland, 1986, and Kate Bush The Sensual World, 1989. It includes a reworked version of the 1984 Buffy Sainte-Marie cover Saskatchewan, as well as Chinko, which was given a more somber, stately treatment, bringing chants to the fore and featuring Alexander Balanescu on violin. Toulson-Clarke and Close, however, found themselves at odds with their record company regarding what it perceived as a lack of mainstream appeal in their choice of material, despite the success of Lean On Me in the UK and Europe. Toulson-Clarke responded to Wee's request for something to appeal to American radio with the Sardonic for America, which lambasted what he saw as the style-over-content approach of the American media, as well as alluding to American military involvement in Grenada and Nicaragua. The song was not a hit in the United States, though it did worldwide outsell Lean On Me, reaching number 1 in 6 countries and the top 10 in several others, including the UK, where it spent 12 weeks in the chart, peaking at number 10. 2 more tracks were released as singles, Heart of the Sun and a second reworking of Chinko, but both failed to make a significant impact on the charts. Due to increasingly strained working relations between the band and the record company, Close left to work in A&R, and Toulson-Clarke took time out from writing and recording to travel. Let's zoom in on Motive 1990 and understand its implications. Motive 1990. Toulson-Clarke was persuaded back to recording by Max Hole, a former contact at WEA who had been given charge of the subsidiary company East West. He began work on a new album in collaboration with musician and arranger Alistair Gavin, as well as David Motion, who had produced The Circle and The Square, under the proviso that the tribal elements which contributed so strongly to the sound of the earlier record be toned down. Motive is less tribal than its predecessor, with several tracks built around piano, brass provided by the kick horns, and full orchestral arrangements. It also displays a more personal style of writing from Toulson-Clarke. The song Moving is dedicated to the memory of Kenneth Roy Wiles, father of Redbox drummer Chris Wiles, who died during recording, combined with the cultural and political allusions of the previous record. The opening track and first single, Train, begins with the sound of a locomotive gradually picking up speed and subsequently shunting to halt at the song's end, and includes samples from the Vaux Builders, O Fortuna, also known as the theme to the Old Spice advertisements and Tricks. The hook is provided by singer Janitza's eccentric vocal refrain during the chorus. Train was selected as the first single and released in the autumn of 1990. The video was aired on the ITV chart show, and the band performed on the revamped Jukebox Jury hosted by Jules Holland, with the panel proclaiming the song a hit. However, a progressively deteriorating relationship between band and label undermined any efforts to promote the single or album. Despite the positive reception for Train, and for reasons which remain unclear, the song was recalled from retailers. No further singles were issued, and the album was eventually released without further publicity. By heartfelt agreement on both sides, the band and label parted and the band went into hiatus. Now, let's shift our focus to Raisus and embark on an intellectual exploration of its various dimensions. Both The Circle and The Square and Motive received only a limited release on CD. Though the first album was widely released on LP and cassette in 1986, the CD issue was limited to Germany, with a reissue in Japan in 1998. In light of continued interest in the Redbox back catalogue, a petition was created to show support for the reissue of both albums on CD. A new recording of Lean On Me by Toulson-Clarke and Close was made available through iTunes in September 2007. The Circle and The Square was re-released on CD by Cherry Red Records on 20 October 2008. It features all 12 tracks from the original album, along with the Cherry Red versions of Chinko and Valley, plus 4 additional bonus tracks. The second album, Motive, was reissued in the UK in March 2011. The album includes 12 tracks in total, 2 of which are bonus tracks, the B-side to the Train single, Hello, He Lied, as well as Train Fantasy Island version. As we enter this new chapter, let's navigate the complexities of Plenty at Present and unravel its multifaceted nature. Plenty at Present. Plenty is the third album from Redbox, released on Cherry Red Records on 11 October 2010. The notion of a new album and subsequent reformation of Redbox was first conceived in 2000. While working for East West, Toulson-Clarke signed a band to the label from the United States of America called the Vulgar Boatmen, releasing an album Opposite Sex in 1996. Interviewed in 2009, he explained, "A bond of friendship producing heartfelt and honest music reminded me of our early days. I missed it, and I suppose the small notion of Redbox riding again planted itself then. I suppose Plenty really began in the woods outside Gainesville, Florida." Redbox promoted Plenty with live performances, especially in Poland, where the songs The Sign and Hurricane achieved #1 status on the radio charts 5 weeks and 4 weeks respectively. The band consists of Simon Toulson-Clarke lead vocals and guitar, Derek Adams drums, acoustic guitar, backing vocals and banjo, Dave Jenkins bass, Sally Jo Siri acoustic guitar and backing vocals, Jane Milligan keyboards and backing vocals, Mitchell Kermack electric guitar and percussion, Ollie Ferguson electric guitar and backing vocals, Karen Tingren violin and backing vocals. In this section, we'll be deep diving into Enjoy, unraveling its complexities and uncovering valuable insights. In 1990, Redbox scored a club hit with Enjoy, which was essentially a remix by Paul Oakenfold of an old B-side under the Solid Gold Easy Amex name. This record was charted at number 75 on Independent Radio's network chart, also used by #1 magazine, but missed the Gallup UK singles chart as used by the Guinness Book of British Hit Singles. In the following segment, we'll be examining Julian Close in greater detail. Julian Close left the band in 1987 and worked behind the scenes at EMI for several years, eventually becoming head of A&R. He went on to run the Silent Records label, and, more recently, Tube Recordings. He received an acknowledgement in the Motive sleeve notes as Sniffy. Nowadays, Julian runs Tube Management, an entertainment company incorporating a record label, music publishing and management. Let's transition to Simon Toulson-Clarke and uncover its significance. Simon Toulson-Clarke has since balanced various roles as a sound engineer, producer and songwriter for other artists, and has worked as a music consultant for East West Records and our department. In 1992, he collaborated with Miguel Bose and Ross Cullum on 6 songs for Bose's successful first East West album Under the Sign of Cain Bajo El Signo de Cain. He also contributed to 2 songs on the 2007 Miguel Bose album Papito, sharing co-writing honors with Michael Stipe on the track Lo Que Es Lo Que Vispa. In 1997, he collaborated with Phil Brown, who had produced the Cherry Red version of Chinko and Alistair Gavin, using the acronym SPA, on a concept album in tribute to American comedian Bill Hicks. Plenty. In 2000, the song Might As Well Go Home by Plenty was featured on the soundtrack to the film Saving Grace, starring Brenda Blethyn and Craig Ferguson. In this section, we'll be shedding light on singles and its impact on our understanding of the subject. Network chart. Leave a comment below and let me know what you thought of this video.